Hi everyone, Teresa Aker here, and you're watching Success Diaries. It's my pleasure today to bring you Vanessa Cardenas. How you doing, Vanessa?
Oh, we're gonna have such a great conversation. We've been talking all this
Yeah.
time, and you're like, we should hit the record button, shouldn't
Right?
we?
Right?
Absolutely.
You are amazing. Everyone, I'm so grateful to have Vanessa on today. Now, she is a relationship reset expert. Now, I had her on because we actually have a mutual friend, Brad Walsh, who has Empowerography. He has a great group of people, and he and I definitely interchange with people, and ones that we truly just think are terrific. And he introduced me to Vanessa, and I'm so glad you're here. So, yes, absolutely. So let's start with your story, Vanessa. You are a relationship coach, you're expert, and we'll start where you actually started to get into this. So let's go there.
Well, betrayal. Ooh. Yes, cheating, infidelity, betrayal. No one studies it unless they've been through it. And
You have.
I went through it. I did. I knew my husband 10 years before we got married because we met in middle school. We were married over 2 decades. The house, the car, the C-suite executive, all of it. I'm in New York. We had that New York grit to us. We were determined to make it work. Absolutely. And one day, spring day, it was that first spring day after a bitter winter. You know, those kind of days when you just, you can walk around without a jacket and everybody's out and everybody's smiling because they feel the sunshine on their skin. And they're just like, oh, here it is, awakening, rejuvenated from a harsh winter. And we played hooky and we walked through Central Park. And I was people watching. I was so excited to see people and smiling and all of that. And I could hear his voice in the distance. Vanessa, Vanessa, let's sit down. There's something I need to tell you. And, I sat down on the park bench and I'm still looking around. I'm, all excited. And he calls my name again to get my attention. And I turn and look at him. And like time stood still all of a sudden. What was racing before was now slowing down. And he said 3 words that I never, ever thought he would say. I've met someone. And just like that, my whole world shattered into a zillion pieces. I was addicted to the certainty of my life. I did everything right. I had a psychology degree. I was a smart woman. Why was this affecting me in such a profound way? And I found myself oftentimes on my bedroom floor, just crying, just sobbing. We know that sobbing, that ugly crying. And I finally begged God, source spirit, please, I need a reprieve. I need to sleep. I need to understand what is going on. Why do I suddenly have all this guilt and shame when he did this? I didn't do this. He did this. But I am just overwhelmed with the avalanche of emotions. And I heard it like a thunderbolt. Help someone else. No, 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 no. Hold on, hold on. You didn't hear me.
Yeah.
I need the help. I need help. Help me. Please, I need help. And I heard it a second time. Help someone else. And I grew angry. Mm, you are not listening to me. I need help. And I heard it a third time. And I relented and said, okay, fine. I'll help someone else. Though I need the help, I'll help someone else. I'll play along. And I finally slept. And it wasn't a miracle. No, no, no. Not the next day I was miraculously cured. Not at all. But I felt 1 degree better. I felt like I had a purpose, that there was something that I needed to do that wasn't selfish, that was selfless. And I dove headfirst into betrayal recovery. I read everything I could get my hands on. I engaged with several different mentors. Now, this was almost a decade ago. Then there wasn't a lot of talk about it. It
Yeah.
was very much in the shadows. You were betrayed, you were cheated on, once a cheater, always a cheater. And I found myself in a support group. It was more geared towards grief, but I had grief. The
Yeah.
marriage that I had, that was over. Now I was standing there, not knowing what's next. Like,
Yeah.
what am I doing? And we had an amazing mentor. The leader of the group was great. She was such an amazing woman. We lost her during COVID. That was tough.
I'm sorry for
But
your loss.
prior to that, um, I was very quiet in the group, which, if anybody knows me recently, I'm not quiet. You put a mic in my hand and you got to pry it out of my hand. But with that being said, I stayed very quiet. I stayed in the background and I listened to everyone else. And slowly but surely, I started to help the others. Oh, I read an article about that. Oh, the book I read about that. Oh, this, oh, that. And one day, the great mentor pulled me aside and said, Vanessa, you're being selfish. What? What do you mean I'm being selfish? I was on the defensive right away. And she says, "Mm. You're the unofficial ambassador of this group. You're helping 11 other people. That's all you're helping. You have to get out there. You have to write a book. A book? You want me to write a book? You want me to share my story to the world, to my community? Nobody knows this. And my family, my friends don't know what we're going through.
Yeah.
I'm keeping this very close to the chest because at the time I had so much shame and guilt related to it. And she was the one that really encouraged me. And for a while, I was the best kept secret in Westchester County, outside of New York City. And, I was happy with that. I was content with that. And someone who still is anonymous, and I need to figure out who it is because I am so honored and humbled, nominated me for the best relationship coach in Westchester
Oh,
County
well
for
done.
2025, which I was awarded. So now I am no longer the best kept secret. But with that being said, I have come so far and I'm grateful. Yes, I know that sounds really strange, but I'm actually grateful. I am no longer the person I was before the betrayal. I'm a completely different person now, and I love who I am. And recently I had a birthday. I was 50 again and again and again and again. But with that being said, for me, the 50s are the new 30s. I don't even remember my 30s because I was so stressed out. I was a new mother, a new role, and everything else. And I blinked and they passed me by. Now I breathe. I pause. I help.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful that God's source spirit told me to help someone else because for me, that is the biggest reward of this whole situation that happened is that I get to help others because I get to instill hope for them because I'm still married. Yes, we just celebrated 35 years. There is an
Congratulations.
asterisk next to it, and the asterisk says, "Oh, but wait, there's more to the story."
Yes.
And you've heard my story. So that's how I got involved in this work that I find, though it's a dark space to be in, I find it so gratifying when couples walk out of my office with a
So
weight lifted off their shoulders.
I think the biggest question is that I have, and I think my audience will have is one, why did you stay through this? You've become this amazing person. You're helping other people. What made you stay? And we're glad that you did. So your marriage is still intact. Help us out. Why did you stay? And why did your husband stay? That would be a second question that I think would be logical. Can you
Hmm.
share with us that?
Absolutely. Another another wonderful mentor said something early on, which I resisted. I so resisted. I just didn't believe it, and it needed to be said to me often. And what it was, though this happened to you, it wasn't about you.
Well,
The
that's
betrayal wasn't about me. It absolutely was not. And what transpired, another great mentor said to me, listen, Vanessa, you're going to have a new relationship. You get to choose who that relationship is with. And I chose my husband
okay.
because he, on the flip side, after he made this declaration, and 6 months later in therapy, in coaching, he finished his thought because I didn't let him finish his thought. Once he said that he had met someone else, I turned into the most vicious Karen you have ever seen. How
Oh,
I was not recorded or arrested that day, I have no idea.
okay.
Every single insecurity,
Okay.
all the rage came out of me
Mhm.
that I didn't even know I had. He didn't know I had it. So he immediately turtled in. But the one thing that he wanted to do was to make sure that we went through, we had support around us, and not friends and family, because friends and family, they mean well, they do, but they say the worst things, and they're so full of judgment. And we didn't need the judgment. We needed to understand how this happened, why this happened, and what we can do to move through it, whether we stay together or we separate, still needs to be amicable. We've seen those contentious divorces where suddenly they're really at each other. I was at him, he was not at me. And what he said about 6 months, 7 months later in coaching, in therapy, I've met someone and I love how that makes me feel. But that intoxication I have with her, I
Yeah.
want with you. That was a game changer. Like it suddenly like all clicked for me because there were certain things in our marriage. We had grown so accustomed to each other
Sure.
that we lost sight of each other. We stopped caretaking each other's confidence.
Sure.
And that caused some cracks in the foundation. And that when you have cracks in the foundation of your relationship, it allows something or someone else to kind of slip in. And that's what happened in our particular case.
Okay.
But as I mentioned, I knew I was going to have a new relationship. Obviously, I'm a new person.
Yeah.
He's a new person.
Sure.
So therefore, we have a new relationship. And that relationship is built on a foundation that was incremental,
Sure.
brick by brick. It didn't start halfway through. No, 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 no. We started from the bottom. Absolutely. And each opportunity for self trust, for trust, for self forgiveness, that's a huge one. I needed to forgive myself before I could forgive him. And forgiveness, oh, that's a very big room. It is. And that is brick by brick by brick by brick.
So you said to me you had to forgive yourself.
Mhm.
So you were forgiving yourself for?
Duration of time. Oh, what was I forgiving myself
Yeah.
for? Um, Various things. The
Okay.
first thing I needed to forgive myself for was taking it all on. I took it all on.
Okay.
He made that declaration and I took it
Sure.
and I just carried that boulder on my shoulders.
Sure.
That scarlet letter of a bee betrayed. And I took it all on. And that's why that phrase that that great mentor said, it happened to you, but it wasn't about you, released me from that
Sure.
and allowed me to take off the blinders that were like this that were only focused on me,
Mhm.
that it allowed me to pan out and see what I hadn't seen before,
I
and
see.
allow myself some grace. And I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't. And a lot of times, a lot of my clients come to me. They sit on my couch and they blame themselves for what happened. No, no, I'm sorry. And when I work with couples, my first session with couples, I don't do discovery calls. I like to jump right in. I
Sure.
really do. So my sessions start 90 minutes, and it's not a situation where it's 87 minutes and I'm looking at my watch going, okay, we need to wrap this up. Mm-mm. No, no. One of our first therapists that we had for a very short period of time, I would be in tears. I'd be crying. I'd be shrieking. I so much emotion pouring out of me. And it'd be like, up, time's up. We'll pick this up next week. And that used to make me so angry. So now for me, my sessions are 90 minutes with a buffer of an hour.
Yeah.
So that if we need to go over because we're in the thick of something, we go over. Absolutely. And I advise my clients, especially when they sit on the couch, especially when it relates to betrayal, because they want to have excuses and they want to have blame. And I'm very much, I say it right out of the gate. I am not here to make a judgment call. I
Right.
am not here to decide for you, but I can tell you this, there is absolutely no excuse for infidelity. There absolutely is not. You
Sure.
can, whether it's on a hospital bed or whatever the situation is, and we're going to touch on this, even if it's a sexless marriage, there is no excuse for betrayal. And that sets the tone because the betrayer knows they're not going to get away with it with me. And the betrayed knows that I'm not going to let the betrayer get away with it, that we do need to dig into why this happened, what we can do about it moving forward. Do we want to salvage the relationship, the new relationship, and go from there?
So I would think that, so now you have two people, and you're a wonderful counselor, I know that. So they both, if they both are willing to take the time and work it out. So each, in my mind, and I'm not a professional, but I would think each of the relationship in the marriage has their own issues or situations. So each takes responsibility for it. I understand that. And then individually, they have to deal with their own responsibility of it and then get some counseling, which is a great idea. But from there, so two parts of the question. If they both are willing to work at it, you're feeling like the marriage can stay together, and that's what it sounds like to me, and you want to make it work. If one of them only wants to work on the marriage, can it still work, Vanessa? Or how are you feeling about that?
It's very challenging that way. It
Okay,
depends. It really depends on the uniqueness of the
sure,
relationship because
absolutely.
each of us is as unique as our fingerprint. So that's one of the reasons why, for me, one on one is the most beneficial
Okay.
because we really get to the heart of it. Have there been instances where where the betrayed hangs on for dear life and the betrayer is like, I want out. I thought that if I did this action,
Yeah.
that the betrayed would leave, but they're not leaving. I've done this horrendous act, sometimes purposely, kind of
That's
similar to The
interesting. I mean,
Godfather. Remember the
yeah.
movie in The Godfather where she aborted his final son, and that was her way of getting out. She needed to get out, and she did the most heinous thing. She knew the thing that would hurt him the most. Sometimes that happens as well. But we don't know that until we get into the thick of it and really determine what exactly is going on here. Because
My
a lot of it is surface. A lot of it is surface and you have to get underneath the surface.
Oh, sure. And everybody comes from different walks of life, and everyone has their own life to deal with and sees life through their own perspective. I would also add, Vanessa, again, I'm not a professional, but people grow as they are married, that perhaps, in their early 20s, 30s, whatever it is. And 20 years later, they're not the same people they were when they married the person. So there is some growth involved in there. And perhaps if two people were one way, they're maybe growing separately. And you mentioned about a sexless marriage, which I think does happen, whether people are working so many hours, children may be part of it, all kinds of reasons, whatever. They lose that intimacy. I can understand that. I can. But as they grow, it would seem to me, in the advice that perhaps you would give here and to my audience, the minute you start feeling that in the marriage, if you could both get counseling before that disaster kind of comes, that's really the key. So if they're feeling now that perhaps this isn't going the way I thought it would, they want to be able to reconnect and feel good about each other. I think, again, I'm not a counselor, but when you go outside of the marriage, I really think it's not really about the person they're with. It's they're missing something. There's a void. Would that make sense?
Absolutely.
So would
Absolutely.
it not make sense if someone was starting to feel that in the marriage, that getting counseling like yourself would be able to help them before that happens? I mean, that's just my logic.
Right. It's good logic. There's a stigma to therapy and counseling. That's one of the reasons I'm a
Even
coach.
today?
Yeah, even today.
Really?
It,
Okay.
there's still a stigma, especially with a certain age group. Even though they know it's important, they're not going to tell their friends and family, "Oh, we're going to therapy."
Yeah.
That automatically indicates that there is a problem, and a problem is with a capital P on it. Whereas we're going for coaching,
Oh, yeah.
tutoring, oh, he needs tutoring. Still has a little bit of a stigma, but it shows a helpfulness, that there's a way of moving through it. So I prefer, because I am a coach, I coach clients through hard moments, when it just doesn't quite feel right, and there's something off kilter, and they're too, usually fear. There's a fear factor of being more vulnerable, in saying, hey, we haven't been intimate in a while, and it's because
Yeah.
a variety of reasons. And unfortunately, because we are such a medicated society, a lot of the medications cause these types of problems, cause the intimacy not to work properly. And it is very noticeable. And we distance ourselves from it because of embarrassment, because of shame, because of guilt, because of uncertainty, of lack of knowledge of, why am I not working down there?
Oh, so do you mean for women or men?
Women and men,
Oh, okay.
both
Fair enough.
sides, both
Fair enough.
sides it happens. And it
Sure.
usually happens between that
Yeah.
43-ish to 53-ish. It's a 10-year period of time. It's truly, and this isn't scientific. I'm not scientific in that regard. This is
Yeah.
just based on my personal experience in working with clients in
Sure.
sexless marriages since 2017. And it's my own little research. It's not a huge pool. I don't want to profess
It is
this.
can I ask, is a sexless marriage quite, like, is there what would be the percentage of marriages? Perhaps, maybe you don't know. What is the percentage of people in marriages that have sexless marriage? The reason I'm asking you, I certainly was married. I've since lost my husband, but honestly, Vanessa, that was not an issue, and I honestly can say that. But I definitely know people, and I had friends also that were in that situation, and I wonder what percentage, and is it as simple as going to the doctor and just getting some help for it and then feeling comfortable, or is it a relationship issue? Is that what you're finding?
We have to go back a little bit,
Oh, sure.
just a
Okay.
little bit. because we actually need to define a sexless
Oh,
marriage.
that's a good point.
Yeah,
What is a
that's a
sexless
very good
marriage?
point because
Oh, yes.
some will come in my office and go, "We have a sexless marriage," and the partner will look at them like, "What?" You know, we have sex once a month, we have sex twice a month, we have sex 3 times a month, but their partner associates a sexless marriage with non-consistency or not as frequent as it was in their 20s and their 30s, maybe even into their 40s,
Okay.
that it is tapered off in a variety of reasons. And you mentioned a lot of them. Stress is huge, huge.
Mhm.
Um, and just the mundaneness of life,
Okay.
having Groundhog Day every single day and not
Sure.
having any type of variety. And I'm not talking variety in the bedroom, I'm talking variety in your life, not feeling that you have a purpose, losing sight of who you are, and then losing sight of your partner and no longer caretaking each other's confidence, and then not quite feeling the same way that you did before. Like, why am I not getting an erection like I used to? It could be just, a visual of my wife and suddenly, spring into action. Same thing for the wife. The wife could be touched out from having, 3 children climbing all over her
Sure.
all day. The last thing she wants is somebody touching her, you know, and it's not communicating those things and saying, hey, listen, I've noticed this. Because when we put pressure on it, it intensifies it even more. So sometimes it's pausing and releasing and saying, hey,
So how can you help people? Okay, so a sexless marriage isn't necessarily that they're not having sex. Is that a common
well,
thing that they're not having
that's
it at all?
it could be that they're not having it at all for a duration of time. Well,
Is
what
that
is that
common?
duration of time? Yes, that can be very common.
And why
For
would someone not want to have sex for a long period of time? Would we know? Many,
it,
I guess
it's
many,
so many
many.
variables,
Okay,
so many variables where it's filled with shame and guilt and fear. They're terrible emotions for
sure,
intimacy, terrible emotions for intimacy. Doubt, self-doubt, doubt
sure,
about the relationship, financial insecurities,
sure.
uh,
So
any kind
stress,
of
really.
stress. Absolutely, absolutely. Stress is an intimacy killer.
So let's
It
say
is.
let's say you want to put the marriage back together and it's not a intimate relationship. You come in, how,
Mhm.
what tips could you give someone? And I don't want to say tips because that makes it a light. That's not light. This is a serious thing. So how would a couple, they want to come back together. They haven't had sex together, or maybe they are, but it's just not what they thought before, we said before there's issues, or if there is issues, what can they do to start mending? I mean, that's really a big key, right? That's what people are looking for. How do I, okay, the damage is already done. How can I mend this? How can we come back together and feel strong again together?
It sounds odd, but take the sex off the table.
Oh, that's fair.
Now, for now,
That's
just
fair.
take it off the table because there's way too much pressure for it.
Sure.
Way too much pressure for it. Take it off the table. It's over there. Put it in the cabinet for now. It's us. Let's just talk. Let's just spend time together. Let's get reacquainted with each other.
Yeah.
Let's build up that anticipation. And that anticipation comes primarily from safety. Do I feel safe with you? Can I tell you exactly how I'm feeling? And from a woman's perspective, can I tell you how I'm feeling without you fixing me? And from a man's perspective, can I tell you how I feel without you shaming me? And
Okay.
when we can communicate together on certain things, it starts to expand. When we can learn to appreciate one another in a profound way and in a small way, just these little things. When we are in a relationship for a long period of time, there are 2 words, 3 words, we'll say 3 words, that we forget: please and thank you.
Oh, okay.
We just do. And those little gestures, little gestures. You get up from the couch, you carry your plate into the kitchen, and your partner has a plate. You extend your hand out,
Right,
grab the plate. Thank
right.
you. And
But you
just
also
these,
have to receive, right? You have to,
correct.
so one has, if one is giving and wants to give, the other one can't be now blocking that. They have to kind of receive too. Would that make sense?
Absolutely. And it has to continuously move
Yeah,
around. It can't
to
be
each
just
other. Giving.
one-sided. Yes, absolutely. And what I encourage, especially for those that socialize and are with other couples, to do two things. The first thing is not to compare, because comparing is the thief of joy.
Sure.
It just is. Don't compare your relationship to another relationship. You have no idea what's going on in their house. When we socialize, we put our best foot forward. You
Yeah.
have no idea what's going on in their life. The second thing is you are not allowed to talk about yourself. You are to talk about your partner in a positive way.
Oh,
Oh, Jim just got promoted at work. I'm so proud of him. He worked
yeah.
really hard for that. Okay. Because when we speak about our partner in a positive way to others, that energy that happens, that stays with. And for Jim to overhear his wife talk about it, or she mentions it to her girlfriends, and then
Right.
one of the girlfriends mentions it to her husband, and the husband then mentions it to Jim. Hey, I heard you got a new job. What's that like? Then that gives boosts his
Yeah.
confidence. He's able to talk about it. He feels good that his wife spoke so positively about it. So these little techniques, they feel like, really? That's all it takes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Stacking them
Yeah,
starts to
because
build
to
that
me,
foundation.
yeah, to me, Vanessa, when you first met your husband, you did do those things. You opened the door, he opened the door for you, perhaps, or you praised him. You probably talked about each other and said, "Gee, you look nice today," or whatever. You do those nice things when you're first together, right? And then you kind of forget that that's important. And then maybe you're at work and other people, you're saying it to them, but you forgot you got someone at home that you should be saying it to. So perhaps we drift a little bit. And I can see that happening where we forget that at home, this is the person we fell in love with and the person we chose to marry. And we have to remember that they have gifts and talents that you adored when you were first together. And so you kind of have to pick that up again. Would that be fair?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I can honestly say when I was married, and I was married to my husband, he was not my first husband, but when we were married all of those years, quite a gentleman, always opened the door for me, always we had a date night, things like that. But it wasn't because we had to. It really was part of our marriage, and we both had that sort of personality. But because we had been married before, we knew that, if you will, the trips. We knew what would be a problem if we didn't address it. And we each had our own families, so we knew they could give us some grief because bringing two families together is not easy. So I don't want to go too far into it, but we definitely had a good marriage. But I will say we learned from our mistakes. We learned from the first marriage. So we really were mature enough to say, okay, this isn't going to be perfect, but we're going to not bring on problems. We're going to make sure that our relationship is number one. And then we take care of the family. Not that they're not important, but if we're not number one, it's really difficult to hold together for the family. Would that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I work on as well. I'm a moderator of one of the largest Facebook groups for divorced women support group. And every once in a while I get called out, like, wait a second, you're
Yeah.
not divorced. How can you be a
Yeah.
moderator here? And I explain very well, I'd like to think, especially since they have monthly summits and I'm one of the keynote speakers every single month. I've done it for 17 months. And I'm
Right.
not a rinse and repeat. It's always
Right.
fresh, new information. But it starts with the relationship you have with yourself.
Right.
Absolutely. And you said it perfectly. You both were married before.
We were.
You had awareness of what tripped that up. And you
Yeah.
didn't want to bring that into your second marriage.
And
And
it wasn't
it,
easy Trust
Oh,
me, there
of
was
course
times it
not.
was really difficult, but we held on and we said, no, the marriage is number one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We
And
don't
you
want to
know what?
bring
It's
up.
not fair too, and I'm not judging anyone because let's say someone is going through something traumatic right now, just because it, it worked for us, you have to find what works for you. And I guess the point of me bringing you on today, Vanessa, is because you work with people who've already faced the disasters that have come and maybe they're in their first marriage, just like we talked about. If I had you in my first marriage, I may not have had a second marriage. I may have been able to get through the first one and had some counseling and done that. We did not get counseling, I assure you. And so when you face those things, he was a good man. We were just really young, and we had infidelity in our marriage. He, did what he did, and it is what it is. But I did not address it. I did what I think a lot of people do. They just say, that's it, I'm done. I'm not going to work on this. And exactly. And so when I married John, my husband, as of late, uh, I knew there was no way we could have anything that was going to disrupt that. But, but I was very aware of that it is not easy. And I want people to know, I'm not just saying it, it was not easy. You have to really, really work on it and really trust each other and really want. And I also would add both parties. That's why I asked you before, can it work if only one is doing it? You really need you both to be able to work together on it, I think. All of that, again, is just my opinion.
Correct. Now, with one party working and the other party not working,
Mhm.
I want to address that. Sometimes we're in different lanes and we're going different speeds. While our partner, I don't want to do therapy, I don't want to do counseling. I want to,
Mhm.
what they're saying, at least from my opinion, is I want to live in this shame and guilt. Like I'm just going to live there. I don't want to do the work. No, leave me out of it. And you do your own work. When you do your own work, you discover who you are.
Oh,
And when
sure.
you discover who you are, oh, it builds up confidence. And I
Yeah.
will tell you this, confidence is the most attractive quality to have. It doesn't matter your size, your shape, your ethnicity, sexual orientation, nothing. You walk in with confidence, not to
Mhm.
be mistaken with arrogance, confidence. Yeah. Oh, it's a big difference. And when you start on your path, on your road, and your partner starts to see that, they're going to want a little bit of that. They're going to want to understand, wait a second, my partner feels so much better going to coaching, going to counseling, going to therapy.
Right.
I want some of that. And
Right.
then they might join you. If they're dead, if they're digging their heels in and don't want to change, they don't want to apologize, they don't want to take any responsibility for what they have done, then that's a decision that you need to make. But that decision has to come from complete clarity. You
Sure.
absolutely need to know what that divorce looks like, what that separation looks like, and be prepared for it so that you know. And again, I want to put a blanket statement over this. Everything that we've been discussing does not have to do with abuse. If you are being abused, whether that's physically, sexually, emotionally, that whole different ball game. Whole different ball game.
Mhm.
What we're talking about is a marriage that has been intact for a duration of time that
Sure.
has cracks in it. Again, that allows something or someone to enter in. That's what we're talking about. And we're
Can I
talking about
ask you,
yeah,
Vanessa, too? And it just because you said that, you're right, there's cracks in a marriage. I would also think a marriage that's been a long marriage, so a long time together, okay? Like years and years, let's say 20, 30 years, okay? Or 40 or 50, whatever. That now, let me ask you something, and this I always wondered. Way back, if we go back to when marriages were first together, we didn't live as long, and that's a
right.
reality. Now we're living a lot longer. Okay, that is a reality as well. We're taking care of ourselves and we're living longer. Would you say, and this is just again the way my logic works, would you say that because we're living longer, our children, of course, perhaps are empty nesters, or not around because they've gone off to college or university, and you're with your spouse, and you're growing, and you've been together a really, really long time. It would seem to me that's a very critical time as well, where there isn't necessarily anything wrong with the marriage. It's just that you've been together so long and you have so long to go, if this makes sense, that you said earlier, perhaps the mundane, I don't want to say it in a bad way, but maybe that's the very time to spice up your life. Like it may be nothing's wrong, but you may want to look at, it may be getting a little slow, and you
Mhm.
want to start. Would that make sense? Because we are living longer. You are with the same person for 40, 50 years now, maybe 60 years, and you still want to have that wonderful marriage. Would that make sense?
Definitely makes sense. I'd ask this question. Um, you don't know your children as long, or your siblings. Maybe you know
Right.
your siblings as long. It kind of happens there too. I would encourage the relationship you have with yourself. Absolutely. Caretake your confidence. Caretake who you are. Live your life by your own design with purpose and on purpose, because that will allow for that variety that you are craving in your life outside of your marriage. Because your marriage isn't the be all end all. It absolutely is not. But it's a really good part of it. It truly is. If you continue, think of it like a garden. If you continue to water it, you continue to take care of it.
Exactly.
Because just because I know a lot of people feel like the work is in finding the one and getting to the I do's. No, the work starts after that. It truly, truly does. And when you have your partner, and sometimes your partner is yourself, when you can be comfortable in your own skin and who you are, you radiate it. People gravitate towards you. And that allows for that variety that you're looking for, that you're craving. So develop something new. You're never too old to learn something new.
I agree.
Absolutely. Pick something up. There is such an opportunity now, and you and I spoke about it beforehand, about community. Community doesn't have to be proximity anymore. Absolutely not.
Mhm.
You can do a coffee talk every Tuesday morning online and meet the same 6 or 8 people. There are many groups, many groups. You have to look for them. Of course, you have to do some work. Absolutely, but there are many groups. There's a great thing in Europe called the Men's Shed, SHED, where there's a building or an outlet or a garage that has men-related things, tools and things of that nature, board games and whatnot, and men come and go and interact with each other. And those men that are older bestow their wisdom onto the younger men, which they need. And same thing for women's organizations. That's why book clubs and knitting clubs and things of that nature. And I know that sometimes that has a little bit of stigma, but it's not about the physical act of whatever they're doing. It's the gathering. It's having somebody next to you, shoulder to shoulder, and you talk about your children or your grandchildren or your spouse, and have that energy flow out of you in such a way that warms your heart and feeds your soul and encourages you to think, to have critical thinking, to hear another opinion. And that's kind of interesting, or yeah, not for me, but that's okay. That's what makes us so beautiful and so unique, in that we are ourselves, and we have to love ourselves first and foremost.
Well,
Then
I
we get
agree.
to share it with everyone else.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. You have got to love yourself. You have got to take care of yourself. Yeah, and what I would add from there, from loss, you may be on your own one day. So I think it is critical that everyone has a life where they're fulfilled, because although, life, I don't want to ever go negative, but it could happen where you don't have a spouse for loss of, so if they pass away, you are on your own. And if you haven't developed that, you will find yourself falling on your own. So I'm just saying that's separate from even being, you know, looking at counseling, that's a factor. So number one, find yourself for your marriage so that you're confident and both of you find yourselves, because that's important. But thirdly, for, oh my goodness, if you do end up on your own, you can handle it, because it is devastating when you lose someone. So, oh, and it may be divorce even, but I'm just saying my own personal
Hmm.
discovery was that after I lost my husband, I had to find myself. And trust me, my whole life was about him. That was a big mistake on my part. It was that I had to find myself.
Yes, you had to find yourself, but
I did.
it wasn't a mistake.
In
You you
my case, I felt it was because I had to rediscover myself, and then I had, more loss after that. I lost my oldest daughter, so I did go through some devastating times of grief and loss. Thank you. So and not everybody goes through that, but I assure you, the grief was tremendous. It took years for me to, recover, and part of it was because I hadn't really been outside of, found enough on my own. Now I have. It's not a sad story. I'm happy, and I've had to found myself, and I'm confident. I feel good, and life is good. And I've created this talk show, and I've met the most amazing people. I've got lots of people helping me with life. So it's not that. I have family that's beautiful, friends that are beautiful, but I do know that when you're married, it is so important to have your own lives and come together with those lives and feel good about each other. I know that. That's number one. And no, it is not easy. I am not just saying that out of my, just for something to say. That there is no perfect marriage. That's, there's no you complete me stuff. That's not real, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, Disney and rom-coms have made it very challenging for relationships
They
because
have.
they're,
And I
yeah,
also add, if someone, I want to say right here too, without judgment, anyone who has had infidelity or problems in their marriage, don't feel bad. Just go talk to Vanessa, talk to a counselor, talk to a coach, and work it out, because it is important. It's something that, it's too bad. Life happens though, and you can't continue to beat yourself up. You do have to really look at yourself and say, it's okay, we're going to get through this, and get some counseling and some help. Whether it works out or not is up to you guys, but at least you get some help, right?
correct. Absolutely. And we all need help for a variety of reasons. We do. We need mentorship. We need community.
Hmm.
We need contact with others. Because yes, social media, yeah, in the name, social, but it really makes us very isolated. And we do need to sometimes actually go shoulder to shoulder with somebody. And
Yeah,
shoulder to shoulder, you and I are shoulder to shoulder.
we
It's,
are.
great, absolutely great. And that's what I encourage a lot of my couples who are having challenges in their relationship is to walk and talk. Why? Because they're shoulder to shoulder. They're not confronting each other face to face. And sometimes just even that act of being face to face, even if there's 4 feet between them, still face to face feels confrontational. Side to side, shoulder to shoulder, it's a little easier. And we have an opportunity to actually have a conversation and not heavy to start with. I
Yeah.
usually encourage my couples start with, just the day to day, what's going on, and then get into one question, just one question. Is there something that I've done this week that has irritated you? That's it. One thing, one irritation. Because sometimes we're not even aware that something that we've done has irritated our partner until we're sitting on a couch 10 years later and like, you never take out the garbage. And it's like, well, wait a second, I took it out 3 weeks ago.
But
And it,
Vanessa, how does that not challenge? And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
let's say you're with your spouse and you bring up something. Now that is kind of challenging right there, right? So
right.
I'm just backing it up for a moment.
Mhm.
So I say to my spouse, I didn't like, or my spouse says to me, is there something I did? Well, isn't that right there? You're going to start going, oh, that's right. You did this, this, and this. And doesn't that open up for challenges? Or are you thinking, because my thought is now you kind of have to be careful because you're going to open up those wounds. Maybe you need to have someone there before you do that, or is there a way a couple can start there?
It's light to start with. It is not a laundry list. Notice that I said anything
Okay.
irritate you in the last week. The last
Mhm.
week,
It's
not our
hard to
whole
contain
marriage.
though sometimes. That's all
I
I'm
know,
saying,
I know,
Vanessa.
but yes, absolutely, it's hard to contain. But if we want to move through our relationship challenges, we
Yeah,
do need to face them head on. We do. And we have to learn as a couple and as an individual how to communicate our wants and our needs and those slights, because those irritations, they start to stack. We
yes,
don't want them to stack. And again, we want to keep it light because sometimes it's, it can be something as simple as, you didn't take out the dog and the dog peed on the kitchen floor and I had to clean it up when I got back from work and I was carrying groceries and yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry about that. And sometimes just that acknowledgement of it is enough to soothe it over so that the wound that we have
mhm,
can heal properly. But when we don't communicate what's going on for us, we're trapped. We're absolutely trapped. We strangle ourselves unnecessarily. So the big, heavy things, that's what you come into an office for.
sure.
Let's
Yeah,
tackle those. But if we can build up the muscle, I'm going to refer to it as a muscle. If we can have that muscle be trained to know we're going to walk and talk, it gives me an opportunity where my partner is receptive to what I have to say
sure.
about something that has irritated me. Then we take it a step further. Second question: what did I do this week that you enjoyed or liked or made you smile or reinforced that I do love you?
Mm,
Now, that one is really interesting as well. There have been some great answers to that where the partner's really surprised. Oh, I didn't even realize I did that. You like that? You know, holding the door open,
mhm.
you haven't
Small
opened the
things,
door for
isn't it?
me. Yeah, it's always the small things. That's the point of this all. It's the small things. Things don't happen in these grandiose
Yeah,
gestures. No, it's the small little things that stack, both positive and negative. So we want to balance the scale and then we want to really get it to the point where it's more positive. And I'm not talking about toxic positivity where you hide what you feel. No, 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 no. But you have wins. Every single day you have a win. You do. You have at least one,
right.
if not hundreds, but you have a win. You drive to work and you get all the green lights.
Yeah,
That's a win. That's a win. And you honor it and you acknowledge it. I do it all day long. I'm constantly thanking God, source, spirit for things, all the synchronicities that happen in my life, because I want more of them. And I know that gratitude will get me more of those. So I know that with my relationship and also with the couples that I work with, that if they acknowledge what their spouse did that made them smile, that made them feel good, that warmed their heart, that they communicate it, that they say, when you brought in the mail the other day, when you
yeah,
went out to the mailbox in the rain to get the mail because you knew I was expecting something, I like that. That made me feel good. When
I,
when you came out to the driveway because you saw me carrying groceries in, it was this
yeah,
little gesture, but it meant a lot to me. I noticed it. I noticed it translates into I notice you. And
That's
that's
a
what
good
we
one.
want. We want to be noticed. We want to be seen. We want to be heard.
I agree with that. You are right about that. People want to be heard. They want to be cherished. They want to know that they matter, that they're heard, that they're somebody important in the life of the person they're with. And so it does go both ways. You want to, as you're giving, the other person really needs to receive. And even if it's something that they don't think is important to them, they should appreciate. You know where I'm going with that. So let's say,
Mhm.
I don't know, we'll go back to opening the door. If the other person doesn't appreciate it, they shouldn't just challenge them and say, I don't care if you do that or not. Appreciate that they're doing something for you. Maybe it matters to them that they're a gentleman. Maybe it matters to the woman that she's treated like a lady and that open the door for her and I don't know, whatever, take her out for dinner, do things like that. Women want, I believe today, still want to feel like ladies, and men still want to feel like men. We don't have to be Neanderthal about it, but let's look at the roles here as, and if you're, same-sex marriage, it's the same thing. You want to still treat each other the way they want to be treated and how you would want to be treated. And I think there is something about that loss in a marriage. People forget the when they first got together. Always remember when you first got together how much you love that person so much you ask them to marry you. You ask them to be with you. And even if you're not married, you're living together. You've asked them to be part of your life and they have asked you to be part of their life. Go back to those moments and say, look at them and say, this is what I love about you. That's still there. Like that's still part of it. Would that not make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have two stories related to that. They're
Sure,
cool.
go ahead.
So my husband and my daughter got into soccer, and Manchester United has red shirts. My husband's never worn red, but my daughter got them matching red
Sure.
Manchester United soccer shirts to wear when they get up at 6 in the morning to watch a game together. And I completely haphazardly, no intention whatsoever. The first time my husband was wearing it, I noticed it. And again, it just flew out of my mouth. There was no thought behind it. I said, wow, you look really good in red.
Yeah,
Let me tell you something. That man went and bought so many red shirts.
I
It seemed
bet.
like for the next month, that's
Yeah.
all he was wearing was red because he heard it and it felt good that his wife noticed something, complimented him. And again, from my perspective, it wasn't intentional, not at all. I just happened to say it. And he got the shirt a little tighter, so that it would show his biceps and whatnot. And I then acknowledged it. Yes, we're in our
Yeah.
50s, but I acknowledged it. I was like, wow,
And you appreciate when he says the same thing to you, when he says, you look
absolutely,
lovely today, Vanessa, or I love that dress. You're going to wear that dress a couple of times. I know, I do too. I love being
absolutely
treated like a lady and told I look good. And I may not that day, but I want
confidence.
someone to care about me and say, you look good. And thank you for that, for what I did for them. Thank you. And but that's not just marriage. That's just for my children and my grandchildren. I want, when they say, Grandma, we just love you and we thank you for this or thank you for being you. Oh my gosh, my heart is full, right?
Oh, yeah, it
Exactly.
swells.
And we all want that. We all want to feel hugged and loved and touched. And, we can't lose that, I think, in every relationship, never mind just marriage, in every our friendship. Oh my gosh, my friends are loving, wonderful people. I should just hug them. And I tell my friends all the time, I love you. I do. I say it to them because I do love them. They are supportive of me and I care about them. And my daughter and son and my grandchildren. I have four beautiful granddaughters. I tell all six of them all the time, I love you. First thing out of my mouth is I love you. I tell other people, my son always says, Mom, why do you do that? I say, my beautiful son. He's gonna he's gonna say something after this. But I always do. I say, I just love my gorgeous, beautiful daughter and my beautiful son, my four beautiful granddaughter. And when I say that, there is love that just pours out. And if I was married with my husband, and when I was married, I assure you, told him every single day, we told each other, I love you. Doesn't matter what was going on, I still love you, because it's I've heard people say, oh yeah, it's regurgitated. No, you've got to keep telling each other. You don't know that final day. And the final day could be, I found someone new, I'm divorcing you, and my husband or wife has died. You don't know the final day. So you need to know that you are loved and they are loved. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, unequivocally, absolutely.
Absolutely,
Hmm.
Vanessa.
Without
And
a
you're
doubt,
there to
without a
help
doubt.
them. And that's the whole point of this conversation. You're there as an expert at helping people and bringing their lives back together. And let's circle back to the real trauma is when as you call it, cracks in the marriage, whether it be from infidelity, from sexless marriage, as you said, all of those things. It's about putting that foundation back together. And it's so important for couples, I believe, that are together, whether you're married or you're living together. And today I know a lot more people live together, but that foundation, don't break it. If you need help, get Vanessa or get a counselor, get a coach, someone that can just help you bond back together. I mean, that's
Mhm.
how I see it.
Absolutely. The second story I wanted to share with you has to deal with communication. I work with a wonderful couple, and they came into my office and sat down, and usually, after all the pleasantries, so what's going on? She says, well, she was ready. She was charged. She was ready to go. And she goes, well, we sat on the couch last night, and I turned to him and I looked at him and I go, how come you never hug me anymore?
Oh,
And I was like, whoa, whoa. There was so much energy coming off of her.
yeah.
And I was like, whoa, hold on. I said, did you say it just like that? She goes, yeah, I wanted to know. And I said, okay, let's try this a different way. I said, why didn't the next time you want to know the answer to that question? I said, because that question is a very defensive question. He's going to get defensive about it. And he's going to react in two different ways. Either he's going to get up and kind of walk out because he's got so much shame and guilt because you've chastised him, or he's going to hug you, bring you closer, but not really mean it. And you're going to know, your body's going to know that he doesn't really mean it. I said, so take this approach. Lean into him. Lean into him. And when he puts his arm around you or puts his hand on your knee or whatever it is, makes some sort of contact with you, 6 words. Hmm, I miss this.
Oh, that's nice.
That's it. This feels nice. I miss this. That's it. That's it. Nothing more needs to be said. I said, you get your point across without attacking. And that's the beauty of our language, is that we need to learn how to talk to each other so that the other person doesn't get defensive. Because
But
defensive immediately just blocks everything.
but let's go back, Vanessa, because I'm going to
Mhm.
challenge that one.
Yes, please.
I am. Why did he stop hugging her? Why did he stop kissing her? Why did he stop? You see, we have to remember we have to take responsibility on both sides. So, yes, she's saying, hey, you don't hug me anymore in her mind. But why did he stop? I mean, we have to look at our lives and say, wait a minute, why did he stop hugging her? If he used to, obviously she's missing that. Is there not a responsibility on both sides where why is he stopping the intimacy? I mean, this may be part of this sexless marriage thing too. And I'm going to be the devil's advocate here because I can assure you, I know people, I have friends over time who have said, my husband puts his arm around me. I don't like it when he does that. But they did when they were first together. Or the other way around, where she says, he doesn't kiss me anymore, he doesn't hug me anymore. And I think, oh my gosh, why not? Right? I instantly think, why isn't he? What is it? What is going on there? So I'm just wanted to back up. Sorry
Yeah,
if I
no, no, no.
challenge.
It's a valid point.
Yeah, like if you're
I
so
right,
obviously those were the are where the cracks are going to start.
correct. With that being said, I always like to move from present day into the
Hmm.
future to start a foundation. We can then go back and look at, well, why wasn't that done before? Is there guilt? Is there shame? Is there a sense of normalcy? Well, I don't have to put in any more work. I
Right?
got you. You said I do. The work is over.
Right?
That's when we get the work started. Well, hang on a second. So sometimes it's a sense of both parties becoming used to how their life is now. Well, I don't kiss you anymore, but you haven't said anything about me not kissing you. So I guess it's not important for me to kiss you.
Valid.
Whereas if they're challenged with, well, how come you don't kiss me anymore? Oh, hold on a second. Like now you're coming after me.
Yeah,
Well,
that's fair.
you weren't kissing me either. So I just figured,
That's
we're kind
fair.
of used to this. Whereas, you lean in and kiss your husband and you put your head, to hear his heartbeat and say, oh, this is nice.
Yeah.
I miss this. That gives him an opportunity. He might say a variety of things. I miss this too. And that opens the door for a conversation. Whereas if you challenge, that door shuts right away and he walks away. I mean, he's just like, oh my God, way too
Yeah, I
much.
agree.
Yeah. So
And vice
sometimes,
versa. Both, absolutely.
exactly,
That I
exactly.
think that's where I met with the receiving too, right?
Mhm,
So the receiving,
absolutely.
the give and take. So if you give, don't push the other person away. If you're receiving, don't criticize as you're doing it. Don't. I know people make these mistakes, little things like this, like, oh, now you want to hug. Or, oh, now you want to do, you know what I mean? People tend
Yeah.
to criticize while the other person's trying too. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have it quite often here in my office, depending on what is happening. But the wife will come in sweatpants and a sweatshirt with a bun and whatnot. And during the course of the conversation, whatever it might be, he might comment about how beautiful his wife, looks today or something of that sort. And she'll turn and be like, this thing?
Right?
He doesn't care. It's the old Marilyn Monroe thing, oh, potato sack, oh, it's the way you're dressed and everything else. And somebody said, well, she'd look attractive in a potato sack. So they photographed her in a potato sack
Yep,
because
that's
that's
right.
exactly. Exactly. So when your spouse, when your partner gives you a compliment, accept it graciously. Oh,
I agree.
I just threw this on, but you think you're good with this? I don't know. But we go back to the dress. I really
And
like the black dress.
and I want to add, don't criticize each other. Don't, so if she comes in that and you say something and start being critical about them, then there's another communication that's going to cause some grief. Don't criticize each other. I think that's important. So yes, praising, don't criticize, and don't criticize them for doing it. There's this triangle of things that happen in marriages that get out of control. Right? We start
Just
putting
like
down
that.
our spouse instead of building them up, because it's the little cracks. I love that you called it crack. It's the little one that gets to be deeper and deeper and harder to put back together.
Correct. And then we have to talk about our shadow that we
Our
have with
shadow?
us. Our
Ooh,
shadow, our inner critic.
wow.
Mine I call nasty chick because she came out guns blazing on that day in Central Park.
I
Oh boy.
bet.
Oh
I
yeah.
bet.
Every single insecurity. This is all your fault. You did this and whatnot. Yeah. To me. And oh, inner critic is wicked. And we can have that be a driving force in our relationships if we
Vanessa,
don't
I'm
corral it.
going to stop you here for a moment. We've had a great time. I want to stop this because we have to do it time-wise. Could we come and do a second part to this? Because we want to hear that. Would it be all right?
Absolutely, of course, it would be my honor.
So everyone, I'm going to leave here for a moment. We're going to come back. Vanessa and I are going to come back and redo this. Vanessa, you've been amazing today, so I thank you. We're going to have a part two. To everyone, this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries. Do subscribe to my channel. I truly appreciate that. I'm going to have all of Vanessa's information and description here for you to follow her. I'm going to sign off now, and we're going to come back and do a second episode. So thank you for being with me today, Vanessa. To everyone, this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries. I do hope you're having a great day. I look forward to talking to you all very soon. Bye-bye now.